Let me tell you a story that isn't a story at all. It is a pattern, a script, a recycled myth dressed up as neutrality. They call it high conflict, as if two people are simply arguing too loud, as if the room is filled with equal thunder, as if the storm is symmetrical. But in real life, in real homes, in real families, high conflict is a label slapped over abuse. When systems don't want to look too closely, when professionals want to stay comfortable, when the truth is too inconvenient, too messy, too politically charged, too emotionally demanding. High conflict is the shrug that replaces accountability. It's the fog that hides the bruises that you cannot see. It is the myth that turns a survivor into a co combatant and an abuser into a misunderstood participant. And when that myth walks into the courtroom, it doesn't walk alone. It brings consequences, it brings custody decisions, it brings silence, and it brings danger. Professionals will tell you, oh, they just can't get along. Both parents are contributing to the problem. Oh, these two need to learn to communicate better. But here's the truth survivors know in their bones. Most so called high conflict cases are not mutual. They are one sided abuse met with one sided resistance, misinterpreted as mutual chaos. It is not high conflict. It is a survivor trying to protect themselves and an abuser refusing to lose control. It is not high conflict. It's post separation abuse, the kind that spikes when the survivor finally leaves. It's not high conflict. It is coercive control, the invisible cage that doesn't stop just because the relationship did. But systems love symmetry. They love balance. They love the idea that both sides are equally flawed because it means no one has the name to the harm. No one has to confront the abuser. No one has to take a stand. So they flatten the story. They erase the power imbalance. They call it high conflict and pretend that's wisdom. When a survivor is mislabeled as high conflict, the system stops listening. Their fear becomes drama. The evidence becomes exaggeration. Their boundaries become uncooperative behavior. Their attempts to protect their children become alienation, instability, emotional reactivity. The myth becomes a muscle, a silencer, a credibility eraser. And suddenly, the survivor is no longer a survivor. They are a problem, a complication, a barrier to co parenting. But you cannot co parent with someone who uses parenting as a weapon. You cannot co parent with someone who sees children as leverage. You cannot co parent with somebody who believes control is their birthright. Yet the myth demands it, the myth insists on it, and the myth punishes anyone who resists it. And then there are the children, the ones the system claims to protect, the ones who become collateral damage in the name of fairness. When professionals mislabel abuse as high conflict, children lose safety, they lose stability, they lose the parent who is trying to shield them. Children are forced into unsafe visitation because the court believes both parents need equal time. Children are told to adjust, to adapt, to respect both households, even when one household is a battlefield and the other one is a refuge. Children learn to split themselves in half, one version for survival, one version for truth. They learn silence as a survivor skill. They learn self blame as a bedtime story. They learn that adults in authority cannot always be trusted to see what is right in front of them. And the system calls that stability. The myth persists because it is convenient, because it is easier to blame both parents than to confront the reality of abuse. It persists because professionals are undertrained in coercive control, trauma responses, post separation abuse, and the way abusers weaponize the legal system. It persists because neutrality feels safe for the professionals, not for the families. It persists because calling something high conflict lets the system avoid choosing sides. But in abuse, not choosing a side is choosing a side. Neutrality is not neutral when one person is being harmed. Survivors need the world to understand that leaving does not end the danger, it often escalates it. They need the world to understand that their fear is not conflict, it is memory, it is pattern recognition, it is lived experience. They need the world to understand that protecting their children is not alienation, it is parenting, it is love, and it is duty. They need the world to understand that abuse is not a relationship problem. It is a power problem, a control problem, and a safety problem. And you cannot solve a safety problem with a conflict resolution mindset. If we want to protect survivors and children, we must retire the myth. We must bury it. We must call it what it is, a dangerous misdiagnosis. Professionals must learn to distinguish between conflict and abuse, between communication issues and coercive control, between mutual disagreement and unilateral harm. Courts must stop forcing co-parenting, where only one parent is parenting and the other is punishing. Agencies must stop treating survivors as co-contributors to chaos when they are responding to danger. And society must stop asking, why can't they just get along? And start asking, who benefits from this narrative? Who is being silenced? Who is being endangered? Because the answers are not symmetrical. The myth of high conflict is a spell cast to keep systems comfortable and survivors quiet. But spells can be broken, truth can be spoken, patterns can be exposed, and language can be reclaimed. So let this be the counterspell. There is no such thing as high conflict when one person is trying to survive and the other is trying to dominate. There is no such thing as high conflict when the danger is one-sided. There is no such thing as high conflict when the children are afraid of only one parent. Call it what it is. Name it, expose it, teach it, challenge it, rewrite it. Because when we stop calling abuse conflict, we start protecting lives. We start protecting children. We start protecting truth. And truth, spoken clearly, spoken boldly, spoken without apology, is how cycles break. It is how survivors rise. It is how systems change. And it is how justice begins.